Hello everyone, happy 30th anniversary to Batman Returns. Wow, I feel old. Of course, I was only 1 year old when this film came out. I have many videos discussing my thoughts of Batman Returns, but I will say this. 30 years later, this film not only holds up, it still is a unique Batman film, and there hasn't really been a Batman film quite like it ever since. What can I say? Tim Burton managed to have a dark and serious tone for the Caped Crusader, but he also had that comic book fun, that comic book flair that's kind of missing from some of the movies now. I find it crazy how on a 2-year interval, 92 we have The Bat and the Cat, 2012 we have The Bat and the Cat with Dark Knight Rises, and then again in 2022 with The Batman. And while The Dark Knight Rises is about to turn 10 years old, this has been around for 3 decades, and it was Michael Keaton's last time as the Batman before his upcoming appearances in the DCU. Batman 89 was a huge hit, and this was a highly anticipated sequel. There's a lot of controversy with the content, McDonald's tie-ins, and because of this movie and the direction, it caused WB to take a bit of a course correction with the Schumacher films with Batman Forever and Batman and Robin. And even though I would like to blame WB and Joel Schumacher for the change in tone and the decline of the franchise, it really started with this film as far as like how dark it got. If it didn't get so dark, they wouldn't have to lighten it up. You can all have your favorites. My personal favorite's the 89 film, but I have to say this. This is like the 90s Batman comics come to life, and unlike the other films, even though they were more hip at the time, this film doesn't feel as dated as the other films. This film has a timeless quality about it. In many ways, in the earlier films, Batman plays second fiddle to the villains, but the villains are fantastic here with Danny DeVito's grotesque Penguin. If Batman 89 was a Batman film by Tim Burton, Batman Returns is most definitely a Tim Burton movie. And I went over this in a video before, but my first time seeing it was actually a recording my brother had. We used to basically record stuff on an empty VHS tape, and we recorded Hook and Batman Returns, and it was an HBO feature presentation. That's right. I remember all the tie-ins. We had the little cups with like the frisbees you could throw with the disc tops. I love that. Who could forget the Diet Coke commercials? All the different toys. I used to have like the scuba Batman and all that type of stuff. And I've grown quite fond of Batman Returns. Michael Keaton, I actually think, is better in this film than he was in the original, even with limited screen time as the Caped Crusader. Michelle Pfeiffer is psychotic and just kills it as Selena Kyle Catwoman. She is perfect. Who could forget the transformation scene? You know, hello there, turn into hell here. Sees Shu and the Banshees face to face. You know, mistletoe can be deadly if you eat it, but a kiss can be even deadlier if you mean it, you know? I love that. I love the chemistry between the Bat and the Cat. Penguin has a tragic backstory with the Red Triangle Gang, his parents disowning him, and him being just this grotesque circus freak almost. Christopher Walken, who could forget him as Max Schreck? You know, Max Schreck was the actor who played Count Orlok in the original Nosferatu. It's not like you can just kill me or something. Actually, it's a lot like that. I love the stuff there. It definitely had a smaller feel than the 89 film because they filmed it in Los Angeles. That being said, Batman, for people who have problems with Batman killing, he doubles down in this one. And I love the romance and how it can juggle multiple villains. Yeah, it didn't need to have that many villains. No, maybe it was a bit too much. Regardless, though, not many other films nowadays can balance so many characters, and it still ties with Batman and their themes of duality in this series, and that's one thing I really love about this movie. Without 89 or even Batman Returns, the animated series wouldn't be around. And aided with Tim Burton's direction is Danny Elfman's iconic score. This movie is different and a bit deeper than the 89 film. We all may agree to disagree on what our favorites may have been in the first 4 films. You cannot deny the impact this film had and the quality of it after so many decades, all the way to the ending. And it's very rare for a Batman film to have a sense of adventure but yet be dark enough, and I have a feeling that Batman Returns was very, very ahead of its time, to say the least. And I really would have loved to see a third film by Tim Burton. But I grew up with this movie. I later on got it on VHS, as you can see here. I got the Blu-ray on the anthology set. This was my brother's soundtrack. I used to listen to it all the time. I had a little lunch tray. I love everything that went around this movie. And I just would have loved to see what Keaton and Burton would have done later. Even though I am a huge fan of Batman Forever, it just makes you wonder what could have been. And we got a glimpse of that in the Batman '89 comics. And this is a very dark Christmas movie, a very enjoyable Christmas movie. I love that part where Penguin and him are fighting, and he's just like, "You're just jealous because I'm a genuine freak, and you have to wear a mask." And then Michael Keaton's like, "You're probably right." It's like, "Shut up, you're going to jail." I just have one question. Bruce Wayne, why are you dressed up like Batman? Because he is Batman, you moron. And then there is that awesome moment where he's telling Selina, it's like, "Selina, we're the same. Split. Right down the center." It's tragic, but this film just encapsulates everything and anything that is Batman. And I also love that this is one of the few films, even when he's not called upon in the Bastille, which by the way was an epic moment, he still investigates. He's still investigating, driving around the city at night. That's definitely Batman, the detective side of him. And I'm glad that this film shows that not many other films really do, at least until Batman and the Batman this year in 2022. And I just have a really deep admiration for this film. This film has gotten love over the years. It may have had initial backlash, but I think people are beginning to appreciate the film it is. Despite its flaws, it definitely did something different and still holds up as among one of the best with the Batman. I remember I used to have the activity book for it. It was quite a time to be a Batman fan, but you know, back in the day, they used to have like toys and stuff for R-rated movies, like RoboCop. He was mortally wounded. Like, they had toys for RoboCop, and that wasn't a kid-friendly franchise to begin with. Like, that was a pretty hardcore R movie, like X-rated, really, if you watch the original uncut NC-17 version, but like, that's the way it was back then. It would have been interesting to see Marlon Wayans as Robin. He was supposed to have a scene as a mechanic who's fixing the Batmobile. We never saw that. We never saw Billy D. Williams as Two-Face, what Robin Williams could have been like if he was Riddler, or Rene Russo as Dr. Chase Meridian. Regardless, though, this wasn't a bad way for Keaton to go out on a high, and it's funny looking at films like Birdman, just thinking about this franchise. And I have to say, I respect Michael Keaton for not only backing out when it was going a completely different direction, but also leaving the role to do something to grow on his own as an actor. You know, he never would have done Multiplicity or Jack Frost if he did the Batmans. Tim Burton would have never done Sleepy Hollow or Mars Attacks. You know, Ed Wood. I love that Tim Burton and Michael Keaton got to grow as an actor and director, you know? And sometimes things work out in the end. I'll have to see how Michael Keaton is. I think he's too old, but you know what? He's my Batman. I grew up with him, so, you know. This is my first introduction to Batman. My brother put on the '89 VHS for me, and between this and the animated series, I grew up with this. Batman Forever was for me, and I think the Batman for my generation would probably have to be Christian Bale. But Michael Keaton started it all for everyone. Adam West was before him, but everybody associated Batman with Pow, Kabam, and all this stuff. He was the one that took it to a dark level, had psychological elements, duality, gothic elements. And it's just crazy to think that we're further away from Batman Returns than the Adam West show was to Batman Returns. It just kind of makes you wonder. We always have a fond nostalgia for what came before the 90s or 2000s, but I'm like, you got to think about what people thought of Batman with Adam West to this. It was a very big departure, but a welcomed one that has its place and legacy in the Batman mythos. Share your memories of Batman Returns, some of your favorite moments, your memories of toys, the film itself. When did you first see it? Comment down below. Many of you were probably born after it came out. I was only 1 year old, so I never saw this in theaters, saw it on video. Like many of you probably out there, let me know your memories down in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe for more videos. There's a lot of Batman content on both my channels. Give this video a thumbs up. And to continue the celebration, you can check out these other Batman Returns and Batman-related videos up on my channels. Stay safe and healthy, everyone. Till next time, I'm about to go get me some popcorn and put on some Batman Returns. You don't really think you'll win, do you? Things change.